good morning or good afternoon, Halok Young, and let me be the first to offer you a greeting of, in the words of one of my grandsons years ago, Hag Samyag.
Okay, well, listen, it's as the saying goes, I've heard worse expressions. Thank you. The Friday night is Rosh Hashanah.
Yes.
Uh, so I'll take the opportunity now and as well, hopefully at the end of the broadcast, if I don't forget, to wish everyone a Shana Tova, a good year, one filled with health, peace, prosperity, and a refocusing on what's most important in life,
Yeah.
to really know the difference between what's important and what's not.
Well, a little internet trouble this morning once again. Let's try that statement again if you can figure out where you started.
Okay, people have been asking me, what was your main takeaway? See, people are really confused. People that I know, guides that I'm friendly with. Why do I go to America and speak? And there are multiple reasons. First is to continue relationships that I've built. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is to do some hasbara, some public relations on behalf of Israel. Three is to do camps of individuals and congregations that I'm friendly with. And four, fill in the blanks about what's going on in Israel, and to hopefully instruct, educate, and inspire, if possible, or when possible, about Israel. And there's a bracha, a blessing that Rav Kahana had taught me many years ago, that he added to the brachot, the blessings that he said to his children, where he would say to them, and may you always know the difference between what's important and what's not. And among some of the people that I spoke with, I would say that my takeaway is they have no idea what's important and what's not. Israel, for some, talking about people who consider themselves either part of Israel or connected to Israel, or somehow, some way entitled to receive the brachot, the blessings that Hashem has promised only to Israel. So they feel themselves connected, whether it's the concept of being part of, Ephraim and Judah, the tribes of Israel. Maybe it's the concept that Paul speaks about regarding being grafted in. Maybe it's the good old being joined to Hashem. Maybe it's, connecting yourselves with the people of Israel. They're however it is. So amongst people who feel that, I really struggle when there's total disconnect regarding the state of Israel, the Jewish people, and the land of Israel. In other words, you can't just say, well, I'm part of Israel when it comes to getting the blessings, but I don't have to do anything about it, and I don't have to really even care all that much. It's astounding to me.
Let me give you an insight into this, and maybe this will help in understanding this concept. Is that in my previous systems that I came through of Christianity, different church denominations, going all the way back to Vacation Bible School. Wow, that's ancient history. There was, in Vacation Bible School, we had a little song that you did in front of the parents on the last night. And it's Father Abraham had many sons, and many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. Right hand, left hand. Anybody that's was in Vacation Bible School is now acting that out. Okay.
Okay.
So, in most denominational structures, and maybe this is the carryover answer to this, that people wanted to identify with the blessings of Abraham, but
Absolutely.
not identify with the responsibilities that come with being part of the family that began with Abraham. And so this is simply a carryover that you and I work very hard to try to transform that. But as I found in many things, in many ways, it is hard to turn a ship. Just ask those that were survivors of the Titanic. It's
Yeah,
hard to turn a ship when it's going in a direction. You don't just do that instantaneously.
yeah.
And so this
There's
is kind of where
momentum,
we're
for
at
sure.
today.
Right. No, I understand that and I can see it, but and I'm trying to share from the Jewish experience, and it kind of is going in one ear and out the other. Like when people say, you know, how can I be worried about Israel when I don't even know what's going on in my state?
Yeah.
Well, that's also a great excuse. And I'll tell you, there were poor Jewish families throughout Europe, and even those who had immigrated to the United States, who, no matter how tight money was, they put however many coins they had
Hmm.
in that staka box that would fund the planting of trees in the land of Israel that we had not had sovereignty over for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Would be trees when the cities would be. I mean, it was such a bizarre concept, but it's a sense of you are living locally, but acting globally. There's got to be something more than your little township where you are living.
I think coming up on Yom Teruah, Rosh Hashanah is a great time to consider that for me the transformation between the spring festivals and the fall festivals is that the spring festivals are there. We're not going to go into all the theological stuff here, but the spring festivals are to prepare you for the exile journey. The fall festivals mark the time when that journey's over. And so this should be a time
Interesting thought.
to
Interesting
this should
thought.
be a time to really look at our destination. We
Yeah.
know many people that will be heading to Sukkot in various places, camping out for a week. But wherever I'm at, and I'm going to be in a couple of different places for Sukkot, I understand that that's still exile. My driving force, one of my driving verses during Sukkot is Psalm 137. If I forget you, O Yerushalayim. And I personally believe that was a song written either in or about Babylon and the exile.
Yeah. Now it's just it was a harsh dose of reality for me because I live in this kind of ideological stratosphere.
The Hanuk bubble.
And yeah, yeah, it's Hanoch's little bubble. Let's switch gears for a second
Yeah.
because the more I talk about that particular subject, the more depressed I get, and I don't really need much, to push me down that slide. Okay, all of a sudden, what's interesting is not only the news items from Israel, but when all of a sudden something is out of the news cycle, all of a sudden, we were talking about this proposed rapprochement. I love speaking French between Israel and Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah.
And then it disappeared, and then it was back hot and heavy. Well, it's disappeared again, but it's
Ah,
replaced by some other thing direct from Fantasy Island. This is an American led initiative to create a series of rail and sea transportation from the Indian subcontinent coming into the Middle East through Jordan and Israel, being shipped then to Greece, and then being taken throughout Europe. Now, if that sounds a lot like the Chinese plan to reestablish what was the Silk Road, it is. This is the American initiative to kind of, to kind of combat that of China. Okay. Israel, of course, reads into that, and Netanyahu describes it as if Israel will be the centerpiece of this whole proposed thing, which, of course, has no funding. Israel always reads ourselves into the center of the world economy, not realizing that the American government, the Biden administration, will do anything and everything it can to sort of, chain us at the ankles, to kind of, like it's a carrot and a stick approach.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one piece. The other piece is that through the United States government, the Palestinian Authority has just been given more assault rifles and armored vehicles.
Wow.
The
Why?
idea behind that is that this will enable the Palestinian Authority to clamp down on terrorism in the areas that they occupy. Now, we all know that that is not going to happen. We all know, I mean, just last week is the 30th anniversary of the Oslo Accords.
Yeah.
People ask me, what was Israel's biggest mistake ever? Well, the biggest mistake ever was the surrendering of the Temple Mount in June 1967. That was the biggest mistake ever.
Yeah.
The next biggest mistake was the Oslo Accords 30 years ago. And it is just, we are paying the price each and every day. Someone asked me, the issue came up about guns in Israel on one of the places I was speaking just a few weeks ago. And I explained how difficult it was for private Israelis, private citizens, to get a gun permit. It is considered a privilege, not a right here. You cannot just go and buy a gun like you can in America. And that's a real concept that Americans struggle to wrap their brain around, that a different country has different laws. Anyway, so someone all of a sudden, you see, her head explodes. She raises her hand and says, so how is it that these Arabs, she's referring to the terrorists, so how is it that they have guns? They're not using weapons given to them by the government of Israel. They're not licensed weapons. They have been smuggled in, they have been manufactured or stolen. Hello. Anyway, so this whole Oslo and post-Oslo, and Mahmoud Abbas, the dictator of the Palestinian Authority, is well in his 80s. He is not well. And there's always been the question of what's going to happen the day after he dies. Who is, and it's chaos personified. But I've got to share with you, if you go back to 1993, anyone in Israel, while this was being debated, who said, wait a minute, let's think about this seriously, because we can't reverse this process.
Yeah.
I mean, Yitzhak Rabin was very famous for saying, hey, if this doesn't work, we'll roll the tanks back in and take control. Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
No.
So this is a really serious issue for us.
Okay, number of things here regarding this. First of all, let's figure this out. Asking, okay, so how do the terrorists get a hold of firearms? That's kind of like going to New York and in a place that is where the possession of and carry of a firearm is illegal, asking, well, how are the criminals getting firearms?
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious to me. As one of the things, we go to the Shell Hassermon Hotel in REL, they have a firing range there. One of my regrets in life is not taking them up on the offer to go shoot prior to the Israeli government changing the law to where, as a non-Israeli, I'm not even allowed to touch that gun. I'm not allowed to go to that range at all. Okay, and that is, I know it's totally out of the box here regarding what we see in America. Now, the other thing is giving the Palestinian government and whatever fake security forces they have tanks and ammunition and munitions and all
Not
this stuff.
tanks, not tanks, not
Okay.
tanks,
Okay.
armored
So
vehicles. Yeah,
munitions and all these things.
right.
This is similar to going into a prison, finding the head gang and saying, in order for us to get peace in this prison, we're going to give you ammunition and guns.
Yeah, not the other gangs,
Yeah, not yeah,
just yours.
just the head guy. Yeah, just the ones that are in charge of all the terrorism. Yeah, let's go ahead and arm them all. But in the midst of this, Israel continues to grow. I just saw that here coming up on the new year. You guys are looking at at Israel hitting the 10 million mark in population. 7.2 million of them being Jews.
Yeah, amazing, remarkable.
Yeah,
It's and that's the thing. You can look at any day's news reports from Israel and say, look at these amazing things happening or about to happen, and look at these idiocies and potential stupidities occurring at the same time, because we are human beings like everywhere else in the world. And it's like every once in a while someone will ask me something and say, like, yes, but in Israel they must see it. Why? Like, and people say, what do Israelis do about whatever? And you can think of any like social situation, or your kids raised to do whatever, like all 7.2 million of us. Let me go ask them. And it's almost like Israel is put on a pedestal, and the world does that to us too. The world holds us to a standard unlike
yeah,
anywhere else in the world.
yeah. Now with Rosh Hashanah coming,
Yes.
tell us some of the fun things that'll be happening in Israel.
Okay. Well, it's what's totally unusual is Rosh Hashanah is a 2-day holiday.
Mm-hmm.
All the other holidays are 1-day holidays, or like Sukkot and Pesach, it's the first day, it's the seventh day,
Right.
and then
So
you've got intermediate days. So you've got 2 full-blown holidays.
so explain
Uh,
yourself, Lucy.
why do we
Yeah.
have that?
Yeah.
It's unique to Rosh Hashanah. I mean,
Okay.
I would get off on a tangent, but here's the element. Now, for Rosh Hashanah, religious Israelis will be in the Beit Knesset.
Right.
Secular Israelis will be at the beach. And it's and here's the thing that's interesting. This was said many years ago, back in 1973, the start of the Yom Kippur War, of which the 50th anniversary is coming up shortly.
Yeah.
And by the way, now they're declassifying all these reports, and you find out how incredibly bad our intelligence and the government of Golda Meir was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've been saying this for years, but people say, no, it's
Yeah.
not like that.
Yeah.
Well, everything is coming out and there's proof in the pudding.
Yeah.
But anyway, on Yom Kippur, Israel, and again, remember, we're talking 1973. This is an era before cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Israel was able to mobilize because they sent representatives of the IDF to synagogues, where even the less religiously observing Israeli was there. It was very easy to get the word out that we were mobilizing. If they had attacked on Rosh Hashanah, when Israelis were at the beaches all over the place, it would have been a lot more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the little nuances of Israeli society. But there are wonderful customs on Rosh Hashanah regarding different foods. And there are people who put fish heads on their table. That and all kinds of. You should be whatever. I don't do that. Never have done that.
Is that is like that? Is the fish head what was left over from the Passover gefilte fish or something?
No,
The cat
no,
didn't eat it, or
no, no,
uh,
no. Because again, remember, gefilte fish is a stuffed fish. It's not a real fish.
yeah,
Anyway, it's
yeah,
carp and a variety of other things.
yeah.
But the thing is, there's the custom of dipping the apple in the
Oh
honey,
yes,
dipping the challah, and there are some of us like me who will use silan, which is the date honey, because in the Torah, when it speaks of Eretz Zavat Chalav Udevash, the land that flows with milk and honey, the honey they're talking about is the vegetarian honey, the
yeah,
silan. It's the date honey. It's not the bee honey.
yeah.
So that's kind of neat. So it's what's interesting is this is the beginning of a big I shouldn't say bigger tourist time in Israel. Particularly for Sukkot. There are many people who come specifically for Sukkot. When people, every once in a while, someone will say to me, "Why don't you and Mike have your Connect to Israel tour on Sukkot?"
No
And
thank
there are a lot of reasons for it because airfares and hotels are through the roof.
Whoops, lost your internet again there. Hold
And the book to do with 2 to 3 in advance. That's number, and prices in general are, okay. And remember, that's a time when Israelis are also on vacation. So if you're going to a particular site, you've got all the Israelis who are off that week go there too.
Yeah. So we left it. We lost internet for a minute. So let me translate what you just said. Is that number one, the hotels are more expensive, and we're talking about this would be like going to the Masters in Augusta on or to the during the Masters weekend. Hotels are way up in price. Flights are up. We would have to add probably $1,000 to the tour, and
Easily.
then you would be it's like a zoo of people. I mean, it's crazy just trying to get a bus from one place to another. The shops are closed, some of the sites are closed. For logistics, we'll just have to
Okay.
wait. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, um, so of course, Rosh Hashanah is followed 10 days later by Yom Kippur, which I always refer to as like the ultimate performance appraisal. There are people who like kind of quake in fear of being judged by Hashem, but Hashem wants to reward us.
Yeah.
He loves us. So he wants us to do the best. It's kind of like be all that you can be,
Well,
that you're
I've
supposed to
been
be.
I taught this on at Life Assembly this past Shabbat, and also in my program, my Living Torah program. To me, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about Yom Kippur next week. But Yom Kippur is not to me personally is not about focusing on how bad I am, but how good He is.
It's an interesting way of looking at it. I personally spend a lot of time reflecting on what I did or what I didn't do. And it's interesting because one of my more infamous posts before Yom Kippur, people are always saying, like, if I did anything to insult you, please forgive me, because there's a total difference between asking Hashem for forgiveness, that's between you and Hashem, and something that you did to another person. So I always put up a post which basically comes out to be something like, there's still time for you to realize and apologize for what you did that caused me to treat you that way. And it's one of those memes that I love the most, because people laugh because they think I'm kidding. That's the best part. They think
Yeah.
I'm joking. And
And for those that know you best.
yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's interesting. So yeah, we I'm kind of forecasting ahead in my mind through October and November. It's going to be a little more difficult for us to record,
Yeah.
because I've got, I mean, this is that will be the busiest. It's interesting. You could take October, November for me and spread it out over the course of the year, um, because I have tours during that time. So far, I have nothing booked December, January, February, and even April. I mean,
Mm.
it's a long way for tourism to come back.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near where it was in 2019. It's
It
a
sure
struggle,
is. It sure is.
struggle. Anyway,
All right.
so
Well,
listen, Shana Tova, have a great
not too
year.
much.
Let's make it the best one absolutely yet.
There you
Love
go.
and hugs to everybody.
All right.
Take care, guys. See you
Till
soon.
next week. Talk some
Bye
out.
bye.